Talk to Me Tuesday. It's your girl Anja, and today, oh my goodness, I have somebody who is incredibly talented. Not only is she a violinist, which is incredible, she's also a traveling photographer who captures the most amazing concert photography. Please help me welcome my girl, Shannon. Hey, girl.
Hello. Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, how are you, Shannon? How are you?
I'm really good. It's been a really good life change, doing concert photography, and I'm loving it. It's so much fun.
Oh my goodness. So where in the world did your love for photography come? Like where or when did you just start loving pictures?
So I just kind of stumbled upon it. Like my dad had always been interested in photography, and he had cameras lying around. And when I was younger playing soccer, he would bring the cameras and take pictures of the teams and things like that. So anytime we would travel, I would beg and beg and beg to be like, "Can I take your cameras?" And he's like, "Okay, fine." So it was always just a hobby. And I started going to school actually for voice, for opera and classical voice. And very quickly was like, maybe performing isn't for me anymore.
Oh
And I also
wow.
tried violin as well. And it just, I just became a different person. And being on stage wasn't really where I thought I needed to be anymore. And
Mhm.
my dad finally went, Shannon, you take my camera everywhere you go. Try photography. And I was like, okay, why not? Makes sense. Um, so I tried it my sophomore year of college and just kind of fell in love with it. And I found that combining my love of performing with photography kind of led me to concerts, and that's how I got to where I am now.
So you're in college, right? And you do that
Yeah.
like pivot. What are you learning about photography? Do you automatically sitting in class like this is where I need to be, or are you like, this is a little bit like different?
Well, the major I ended up doing was actually art with a photography concentration. And photography is definitely what I'm good at. So all of the other arts was a bit of a struggle, but they all kind of work together and make this huge, beautiful picture. But it wasn't an immediate click.
Okay.
I was surrounded by a bunch of people who had always been like, this is my path. I'm going to be an artist, whether that was photography or drawing or painting or any other discipline. um, I had to kind of rework the way that I thought through things because I was coming from a different artistic background than everyone else I was surrounded by. So it took a lot of kind of reworking how I was thinking, my processes, interacting with people with different artistic backgrounds. Um, so that was probably my biggest struggle in the pivot in college. But once I figured out kind of where my place was in the art world, then I was able to kind of start creating my own visions and moving forward with things that I wanted to, pursue and create.
So you sound like your family was kind of on board with this journey, but was anybody else in your life like, girl, you can't make no money with that? Like that's photography. Everybody has an iPhone, everybody has a Droid. Like, why even pursue that? We're all photographers, according to Instagram.
See, my favorite thing is I have a shirt that says we're all photographers until manual mode. So you can put your camera on auto all you want, but there's so much practice that goes into understanding this, I guess, machinery in a sense,
Mhm.
knowing which buttons to push. And in some circumstances, you only have, a millisecond to change something to get what you want to capture. So in that aspect, I mean, there's always people who are like, I have a camera, so I'm a photographer. But um, in some ways, sure, I think anyone can capture the world around them and make beautiful pictures. But um, I think really understanding the things that you're working with really takes you to that next level. And as for, pursuing photography, there are always people that, I mean, any form of art, singing, violin, there will always be people that are like, why aren't you, doing engineering or math or things like that? And I mean, I always tell them that's not how my brain works. I've tried math, I've tried science. It doesn't
It
work
just
for me.
wasn't for me.
Yeah. And yeah, I've been very, very lucky. My dad, I mean, he was a pilot in the Air Force, but he's a lover of arts and he doesn't play instruments, but he knows what good music is. And having my mom, she's a professional violinist and owns several businesses. So she's a very, headstrong woman, very motivated. So, having her around gave me a very good kind of baseline and kind of automatic support that I knew I was going to have, to create my own business and then pursue something artistic from both my mom and dad. I mean, they couldn't be more supportive. It's been amazing.
So, like your darkest days on these, because like any path that you pick, you're gonna have some really dark days. Would you say they are literally the backbone of what drives you forward and keeps you going?
Oh my goodness, yes. Especially in concert photography, there is this kind of stigma around women in concert photography. Actually, this is a very new thing. 2 days ago,
Okay.
I was in Nashville photographing a concert, and there was a male photographer there who was with, to say, a very, very well known online image source. I'll just say
Okay.
that.
Mhm.
And so we were doing small talk, just in between acts, being like, oh, what kind of camera do you use? Things like that, which led to who do I photograph for? And I told him about the blog that I started, which is Shut Her Up and Listen, and how it was made to be a safe space for people who just want an open-ended place to create in the music industry. And he interrupted me and he said, oh, so you're one of those photographers who only gets jobs because you're a woman and doesn't do good work. That is exactly what he said to me. So,
Um, what?
yeah, yeah, there are things like that that happen. And, concerts they can get kind of rowdy and many people are intoxicated, things like that. So, you know, people are willing to, catcall, be able to, like, reach out and grab you, things like
Yeah,
that. So,
touchy for no reason, like you're allowed to.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So, now that I've kind of moved forward with concerts and left kind of, small bars and things like that, that's where it was really, you know,
For sure.
not a fun place to be. Yeah. So now I feel a lot more comfortable in it, but there is I mean, still, even though I'm photographing bigger shows, this kind of stigma of women in concert photography kind of follows, and um, it's something that I hope will change. And I hope that people will grow and kind of learn to accept, uh, anyone and everyone who wants to, be in a photo pit at a concert.
Okay, so let me take it back to college really quick. So you're in
Mhm.
college, you're doing all your college work, you graduate, and then what? Do you already know in college that you're going to focus on your concert life? How do we get here, girl? How do we get here?
So thought I was going to photograph sports.
Okay.
In college, I photographed the marching band. It was the Marching Royal Dukes at James Madison University. They have a huge program. I think they had around 500 members when I was photographing them. I mean, amazing people. I love them all so much. But that kind of got me into sports. But I was doing my little job search and I came across an internship opportunity for Wolf Trap in Vienna, Virginia. So I applied, and to my surprise, I ended up getting it. And
What is that? What is Wolf Trap?
Wolf Trap is a national park that's dedicated to the performing arts. They have, let's say, three different venues. They have a children's theater, which is back in the woods, surrounded by nature, using the
Very
national
cool.
park. They have the barns, which is two deconstructed barns from the 17th century that they put back together in Virginia. And I mean, it houses their year-round opera program and things like that. And then their big center, which is their summer only venue, is the Filene Center. And that's where they have the bigger names in music come. So I was there during the summer to photograph at the Filene Center.
Okay. So you get that job, and then what happened?
Yes. So I was the only photo intern, and Wolf Trap doesn't have a full-time house photographer. So it was very much me learning as I went along and hoping for the best. And
Mhm.
you could see clear growth over, I think it was a 12-week internship of, the beginning photos where I'm not taking chances, they're not very crisp, they're not very clean, and there's kind of this huge arc by the end, and I'm very proud of my growth from the internship, but it was a lot of, figuring out as I went along, which was scary, but I think possibly the best thing that could have happened to me because I'm a
Mhm.
much, I would say, more well-rounded of a photographer and more confident in what I'm doing. So I would typically show up before the show and take pictures of the audience walking around, interacting with each other, and then photograph the opener, um, go edit a bit, and then come back for the headliner, photograph, and then edit photos night of to deliver for social media, and then
Oh,
go back
wow.
home, edit the rest of the gallery, and get it to them a few days later. Yeah.
Okay, so that was in college, right?
I was
Or out?
directly out of college. Yes.
Okay. And then what was the moment where you're like, yeah, this is the path. Forget sports. We're going straight to concert. Was that in that moment, the internship?
It was after the internship. Actually, it was another wonderful interaction with a male photographer. Um, well, 10 months into photographing concert, and I already have these fun stories. So it was this photographer who shoots for a national publication.
Okay.
And I ran into him a few times at Wolf Trap. We were covering some of the same shows. So I figured he would be an awesome contact, networking, try to, make my path. And so I met with him, and he took the meeting with me pretty much to convince me to not pursue photography.
Wow.
Well, I should specify concert photography. And I mean, I was very excited because I was like, oh, this huge photographer is going to meet with me, and I can ask him
Yes.
questions about how to make my work.
Inspiration, right?
Yes, exactly. And I would say performer Shannon, even though I was up on stage and up in front of people, I was not as confident as I am now, which I find
Mhm.
kind of strange. But I mean, things work out in mysterious ways.
True.
So if I were that Shannon and I had this meeting with this photographer, I probably would have listened to him. But current Shannon, this meeting kind of lit a fire. And you know what? I just said, if there aren't people right now that are going to help me, I mean, eventually there will be, and that will be an amazing
Absolutely.
day. But for now, I can just take what I have and make my own path and figure out a way to get opportunities for myself. And I had to do that. And um, I was very lucky, and things just started clicking. And so that moment of, you know what, I can do it for myself, that was when I figured, concert photography is my path, and I can do this.
Oh, I love that story so much because you could have just been like, ah, nobody here likes me, especially guys. And you
Yeah.
know what? Maybe I should just do weddings or something, right?
Oh yeah, but weddings stress me out. Oh my goodness. I don't think I could do that. So
Yeah,
props
that's
to
actually a
wedding
whole
photography.
nother ball game of crazy.
Yeah.
How does your background as a performer help you with concert photography?
Oh wow. Well, that was really the deciding factor for me getting the internship in the first place, is it gave them the confidence in me that I knew what was going to happen on stage. I could kind of see into the future and know this might be what's happening next, so I can capture these moments that happen so fast.
So
Um,
fast.
but not only being a performer, but also the background in music and understanding music theory and rhythms and things like that, I'm able to kind of capture photos that I might miss if I didn't know music,
Mhm.
especially when I'm photographing artists that I don't know that well. I can kind of anticipate what's going to happen next because of the background in music. And I mean, I've been studying music since I was a toddler, so it's just kind of natural to me. And it's one of the biggest assets I think I have doing concerts.
I think so too. And you have a background in dance too. Like
Oh
you've
yeah.
done so much.
I feel like I've lived like 7 different lives at this point.
And they're all coming together. It's great.
Exactly. See, things work out.
So when you go to these gigs, do they give you a camera? Do you have to have your own camera? What is that like?
I show up to gigs with everything I need. For the internship, they had equipment for me to use if I needed it, but I've been very lucky and have all my equipment that I need. I have upgraded since, but I walk around with this ginormous roller bag. You can hear me coming from miles because that thing is not quiet. Um, but um, it's heavy. My chiropractor loves me because my back and shoulders are constantly hurting.
Yeah,
Um,
how physical is this? Are you like sitting in the stands taking pictures? Do you have to like move around? What is your life really like during concerts?
I've been told that I have ninja skills. That's the frequently used term because some concerts when the stage is closer to the ground, I mean, I'm crawling around, I'm sliding on the ground. I'm not like army crawling, but you know, I'm
Well, if
getting
that gets the shot, I mean.
yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna miss it, then that's just sad. But if I can get into a strange like contortionist position to get it, I'm gonna do it. And whether
Yeah,
I have to pay the price later, you know,
whatever.
yeah. But most concerts, you're constantly walking around. And the interesting thing with concerts is kind of the standard is you get 3 songs to capture and then you're done, then you get kicked out.
Right.
So you have to be ready to kind of sprint around everyone. You're kind of battling the photographers in the pit to get the shots you need in those 3 songs. And if you don't, then that's just how it goes. But you have to be prepared to walk. Most concert venues are upstairs, downstairs. It's very physical and can get very exhausting, but got to do what you got to do.
Absolutely. So you have to edit. So did they teach you how to edit these in college, or did you have to figure that out along the way as well?
In college, we did go over different editing styles, but I had some amazing teachers who kind of showed you the ropes, but encouraged the students to figure out how they would like to edit and what's comfortable and natural to them. So I have a very different editing process than really any other photographer. And I could say the same for them about me. Um, so I use things like Adobe Lightroom, Photoshop, the staples. We love them. And it's been very interesting seeing other photographers in the concert world and how they choose to edit photos. Like my mindset editing concert photos is I'm there to document these performances and make these photos look as natural to how they happened in real time. Whereas there's some extremely creative photographers who will come in and do really cool things with lighting, and post editing things and which I think that makes us also special is we have these different views of how to edit photos and what looks best and I just think that's so cool. I love editing. I'm so glad you asked that question.
Yes, I feel the passion coming through
Oh yes,
already.
yes.
So, what would you say, like, you're out here doing concert photography, would you like, because you're working in the dark, or is it all different?
I mean, each concert's different. I kind of
Here, then, if like you're
have.
walking into kind of like the unknown, like every time, how do you make sure you stay on point?
I think the biggest thing is just trusting what I've learned
Okay.
and knowing my camera as well as I can. I think part of college was they encouraged us to bring in our cameras and study them as much as we could because when I'm in these dark settings, I can't see where all the buttons are.
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's just kind of muscle memory at this point. Um and another thing is being able to kind of slow down because it is a very very fast paced thing of only having 3 songs, so being able to kind of calm myself down and be like I can take a second to look at these photos, see what's wrong with them, fix something really quickly and then just go. Giving myself permission to do that is probably the most important thing I would say when photographing in a dark, very fast paced environment.
So, what are you looking for? Let's say you're doing Fantasia, right? And she's on stage because you totally done her before. So,
Mhm.
like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for like body language? Are you looking for, I know you use like the rhythm and you're listening. So, what would be a good, a good picture for you to explain to somebody who doesn't really know? Like, what are you looking for? Because, like, if I just click, 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 click and
Yeah.
hope to get something.
The biggest, I mean, Fantasia is probably my favorite person I've ever photographed because of how energetic she was and how much love she had for performing. And that was so clear. The biggest thing for me, whether it's Fantasia or whether it's, let's say, Lyle Lovett, who just stands there with a guitar,
Hmm.
is facial expressions. Because even when someone's just standing there, all of their expression is going to their face. And the slightest little change can just show so much joy when someone's performing. So the facial expressions are probably number one, but we'll go back to Fantasia. I mean, I've she was electric, and the interactions that she was having with the audience, that's another big thing. When people like her just, I mean, they know their fans are there with so much love and they pass it back and forth. That is such a passionate thing. And oh, I love
Oh,
when performers do that. That makes my life so easy because I don't have to
yes.
try and do anything. I can just capture the moment and not try to work so hard to kind of make a beautiful
The
picture.
moment happened.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Oh, I feel like that when I look at your photos, you can definitely feel energy. So I think that is so important to say is like capturing the energy and feeling
Oh,
like you're
yes.
there.
Yes.
Oh. Now, how do you, as a photographer with photos being so digital now, like how do you hold on to your work? How do I not take it and say like, oh, I did this at this concert one time? Is there like a certain way? Do you do watermarks or do you just trust the process?
I learned very, eh, I'll say in a very difficult way,
Okay.
that even people that I trust the most will take pictures for their own. Like I had a model that worked for me, or yeah, worked for me for probably close to 2 years. And I found my pictures on a Pinterest page with her watermark on them. Things like that happen. So I mean, now I watermark everything. My best friend is metadata, so I can put a metadata copyright on it. So even when someone downloads the image, my copyright is still in the data of the actual image itself. Um, so I mean, that's a scary thing. I mean, I'll go scroll on the tagged pictures of artists I've worked with, and I'll see my pictures everywhere. And I try my best to, message these people and be like, hey, can I have photo credit? Stuff like that. Most of them are
Absolutely.
fan pages, which I'm all for loving your artists, but I feel like there's a level of respect for the photographers that is sometimes looked over
I
when
totally
it
agree.
comes to, reposting. And I mean, I see it as a sign of, they like my image enough to include it on their page. So, I mean, it means a lot to me to see it kind of spread around. But I feel like there should be some respect and acknowledgement of the person who created this image. And my favorite quote is by Ansel Adams, who is a black and white film landscape photographer. And it's, you don't take images, you make them. And I feel like if people see photographers as someone who's creating these images from thin air and capturing these moments exactly the way that they envision them happening, and seeing them really as artists in that respect, would be a beautiful thing if that could kind of carry over when people repost images.
I totally agree. So I know as an artist, I will look at my work and like analyze it to tooth and nail. So how much of your artwork do you actually print off and put on your wall or put somewhere to like enjoy? Is that a thing?
Yes and no. The only concert photographs I have out right now are printouts or tear sheets from different publications that used my images while I was an intern. Because I mean, to me, they're kind of like, baseball trophies and things like that. They're my little awards on the
I love
wall. Um, I think, well, with concert images, I create them to be seen in a digital format.
that. Okay.
Um, I have a few printed out and I love them, but there's just something special about seeing a full collection of concert images because I like to see a full gallery and kind of show the whole show. But I do have images that I mean I love to death and those ones I get printed, but I'm very specific about my images. I like them to be on aluminum prints because that's where I feel like you can get the blackest blacks and the whitest whites, and they're really glossy and they kind of bring the photo to life in a way. Um, and those are not the cheapest things. So I would love to have just like an entire wall of my pictures. I think that could be cool, but um, my wallet does not agree with that.
Okay. For now. For
For
now. Not
now,
not
yes.
yet.
I like the way you're thinking.
Absolutely. So you've been doing traveling here, there, and everywhere. Like, what do you pack? What does that look like? Are you packing a bag for yourself and a bag for your camera? What's going on with all your traveling?
Yeah, so it's kind of gotten down to a science. I think having a pilot dad has definitely helped with that because, he's going around the world and he's taught me how to pack since I was a little kid. So I'm very
Yeah.
grateful for that. I typically have my backpack, which is very heavy, has my laptop, all my cords, SD card readers, spare SD cards, extra batteries, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And I have my camera case is called a Pelican case. It's a hard plastic with foam inserts that I've customized to fit all of my different camera equipment. So the foam will hug all of my lenses, camera bodies, so I know that on the plane they're safe. So that's my loud roller bag.
So do
And
you bring that on the plane or you do it under the plane?
as much as I can, it goes on the plane. So the Pelican Air case is the model it is, and it's fit to be exactly the dimensions of most airlines overhead compartment
Carry on. Okay.
carry-ons. Yes. Every once in a while they can't fit it, and that is the scariest thing. So I put a padlock on it because no one's getting into that. And then if if I have time, I take my camera bodies out of that. Because the lenses, I mean, they're packed in there. They're not going to move anywhere. But the camera bodies, that's where all the moving parts are. So those stay with me. They're my little children.
Got
Um, and then I have my little roller bag. Luckily, as a photographer, all I wear is black, so I can just pack the same black clothes and just be
it.
happy. And black always goes with black, so I don't have to be picky about what I pack. Yeah, so it's a lot to carry, but yeah, it's taken practice, but we've gotten it down to where I'm
Yes.
comfortable doing it. Yeah.
So what's like an interview process for getting like a job like this? Is it like a traditional, like what's your skill set like, or do they just look at your profile or your portfolio, right? And be like, yeah, you're hired. What is that like?
It's a lot of emailing
Okay.
and advocating for myself. Most concert photographers work for publications. There are very few photographers who can just go in as themselves and be like, I'm shooting for my portfolio. So finding a job with any sort of publication is key to getting into concerts because I mean they don't want just anyone walking up with a little, point and shoot digital camera and taking pictures of artists. So that's kind of the vetting process that they use. Is if you're with a publication, I'm trusting you that you're going to be able to shoot the show well.
Okay.
Um, I have kind of a standard email that I use and just fill in kind of artist name, location, things like that. Um, and lay out in detail the plans that I am going to use these photos for. Um, that's really the only interviews I would say. For concerts, it's pretty much just me sending myself out and putting myself out there and hoping that they'll be like, okay, you can come. That's how the joyful way of getting into concerts works.
Okay, so with that being said, can you go to a concert that you're not working and just enjoy it? Or does it just become like forever trying to find that good shot?
Um, yes and no. So, for an example, I photographed a Scottish trio called Talisk a few weeks ago. I photographed them on a Tuesday, and then they were coming to DC on a Thursday. I enjoyed their show so much, but while I was photographing, I mean, I can't really enjoy the music because I'm focusing on what I'm capturing and not like the show as a whole because I'm seeing it through this little tiny rectangle. So I'm it was right at my alley. You know, they had a violin. I mean, we both were in England, so go Great Britain. Um,
Yes. Okay, UK.
and so I was like, I'm gonna go to the show on Thursday, you know, just fully enjoy the show. But me being me, I brought my little film camera because I was like, I mean, I can't go to a concert and not take pictures. So I ended up just taking a few pictures, but yeah, I find myself going to concerts and still being like, oh, if I had my camera, that would have been a perfect photo, or oh, the lights are so cool. I wish I could have done this and this and this.
Yeah.
So it happens, but I try not to get drawn into that because then I'll go back into kind of viewing the concert from this little rectangle, even if I don't have a camera, instead of viewing it as a whole. So that is definitely a brain game I have to play with myself because I am so trained to, you know, capture things rather than just living and enjoying them.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, you're so incredible. Give our viewers just last words of wisdom for anybody who is looking at you like, I would love to walk down that same path. I would love to work in concerts as a photographer. What would you tell them?
So
Last words
don't
of
be,
wisdom.
yeah, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. You know, it can be scary to, I don't want to say compete, but be in a world of so many people who are trying to do the same thing. And and everyone's view is different. We all see the world differently. And with photography, you're capturing these moments that will never happen again. And because you're capturing time and seeing it from your own viewpoint, you can't do anything wrong. You know, just go out there. Don't be afraid to capture the world around you. And if you need anyone, I mean, I haven't had many people to, you know, kind of guide me along in photography, but reach out to me, reach out to anyone. You know, there are so many people who are there to help, and just don't be afraid. I know that's easy for me to say, but I think everyone is so special, and everyone's the way they see the world is special. So if you want to get into photography, just go do it and try, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yes. Thank you so much. Where can they find you? Where can they follow you? Any place you want them, like a website or anything, Instagram, anything. Where can they find you, girl?
So most of my concert photos live on Shutter Up and Listen's Instagram, which is shutterup.listen. But my personal photography is Shannon T Flack Photography on Instagram. And if you want to come and say hi, just stop on by, and I'd love to, you know, interact with all of you.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Like I said, you're one of the best photographers that I know. You're such a love. You're such a light. I appreciate you for coming on my show, girl.
Thank
Yes.
you so much for having me. I was so excited when you reached out. You have no idea. It's been great to see your face again. It's so
I
nice.
know. I love it. I love it. You're the best. All right, everybody, you've been watching Talk to Me Tuesday. It's your girl Anja, and you can follow me at it's your girl underscore Anja. Once again, it's your girl underscore ANJA. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, send a link to somebody who needs this. Also, as always, Shannon is so cool. I'm gonna drop all her stuff down here so you can access her easily. All right, guys, and until next Tuesday, bye everyone.